Assalamualaikum. My name is Marsya binti Azwazahan and I am from MLG 12040. Today I'm going to be doing a presentation for subject ELS 253, which is proofreading and editing 2 for the second assessment individual presentation. Now I'm going to move over to the next slide to briefly explain about my content overview. In here, I have 7 content that I am going to talk about in this presentation. The first one is the original report. The second one is introduction. The third one is context analysis. The fourth one is content analysis. The fifth one is language analysis. The sixth one is table of errors. And lastly, overall analysis. Now, we're going to move over to the next slide. Here, I have the original report, which I obtained from semester 1 students for their academic paper, the subject literature. This report was talking about a famous author, Oscar Wilde, and it was talking about one of his books, which is The Model Millionaire. Now I'm going to start with the introduction. In this paper, I have the total of 8 errors. The first one is context error, the second one is content error, and the third type is language error, in which I have a total of 6 errors. One is made of from sentence structure, and the other 5 is from grammar mistakes. Here, I'm going to be talking about the analysis that I did for the context. I have highlighted a certain text. The reason why I highlighted is because if you can see it, it is definitely too long. In this way, the length of the sentence, it can actually impact the audience focuses and the understanding of the text. In a way, it will affect how the audience or how the reader interpret the text itself. So this will definitely disrupt their focus. Now we're going to move on to the next slide. Here I have the analysis for the content part. Um, the report actually lacks the efficacy to provide clear information regarding the short story that was analyzed. So the writer of this report, the student, she fails to specify who is the main character of the story before explaining the plot. Because if you take a look at the example here, the first paragraph was talking about the plot itself, and then onto the next paragraph, then she talked about the protagonist, which is not suitable because then the audience wouldn't know who is actually the protagonist before reading the second paragraph. Now we have the analysis for the language part. There is one major problem here, which is the writer, she compiled information into one sentence, which means that in a single sentence, she compiled a lot of information and without cutting it off. So this will actually result in problems regarding the sentence structure and regarding the comma and where to put the period. So now we're going to move on to the next slide. Now we're moving on to the table of error. The first error is went to France hoping. The category is punctuation error. The correction made is went to France, comma, hoping. The justification is went to France is the main information and hoping is the additional information. Therefore, a comma should be added to separate the main information and the additional information. Now we're moving on to the second part, which is gain. The category is about tense error. The correction is gaining. The word gain should be changed from gaining because of the recognition that is still known up until now. Now, we're moving on to the third error, which is study. The category is subject-verb agreement. The correction made here is studies. So the justification is because the writer was referring to the academic components rather than just a singular research, which is study. So hence, studies should be used instead of study because the author of the book, which is Oscar Wilde, is studying an academic components instead of just a singular subject. And then we're moving on to the fourth one, which is the aesthetic movement. The category is capitalization error. The correction made here is the aesthetic movement. I capitalized the word am in the movement. So this is because there exists the word the. It was added, and also it should be a static movement with capital M because it is a proper noun. The sentence is describing a proper noun. So now we're moving on to the next slide. Now we have reached the last error, which is the model millionaire was first. There's the category is a added copy error. The correction should be the model millionaire. There, I omitted the word was. This is because the word was it should be removed, because the model millionaire does not only appear once, it still exists up till now. That means it exists in that around of time, but up until now, the model millionaire is still there. The book is still here, and it still exists. Now we're moving on to the last slide, which is the overall analysis. We have finally reached the last part of our presentation today, which is the overall analysis. So, based on my previous learning, mostly the errors made here by the writer is because they are inexperienced in using the correct expression. This is because the student is still a semester one student and they are not used to writing an academic paper. Therefore, there that is why there are a lot of mistakes being made. And now that's the end of my analysis. We're going to move on to the references. This is the list of references that I used. This is the second list for my references. Now, this is the end of my presentation for today. Thank you.